Good morning, afternoon, or night. I'm going to talk about the Spanish flu, and that was also called the flu pandemic of 1918. Well, the Spanish flu was a pandemic caused by the influenza A virus, which is a subtype of H1N1. It was considered one of the deadliest and devastating pandemic, since in a single year it killed between 20 and 40 million people, in addition to a high rate of infant mortality. Some of the symptoms that this influenza had was chills, fever, fatigue, muscle aches, and among others. This was in the first wave, and most of them disappeared after a few days. But in the second wave, the flu was more contagious and reported more deaths. The symptoms were more severe. Also, the skin turned blue and the lungs filled with fluid, causing asphyxia. Now, the origin. The origin is not exactly known, uh, but it was first in Europe, America, and some parts of Asia. Also, its origin was not in Spain. It is called Spanish flu because Spain was the country most affected by this disease. Also, it was the country that from the beginning of this pandemic reported about it, and people thought that this was the place of the origin. As I mentioned before, it is not known where exactly this disease originates, but many theories point to France, China, Great Britain, and also United States. Now I'm going to talk about the fight that many doctors had to pass with the Spanish flu. Well, like any pandemic, we don't know exactly how to treat it or what it caused it. So in that time, there were no vaccines or drugs that help people with the flu to treat the flu. So many doctors prescribe drugs to help to control the symptoms, and among of them we find the aspirin, where the aspirin was registered by Bayer in 1899, and its patent expired in 1970. This caused that many companies to start producing it during this time. The Surgeon General of the United States recommend taking 30 grams of aspirin a day, which is known today to be toxic. All this caused several deaths by intoxication. And now I'm going to talk about of the end of this flu. Well, Spanish flu brought with it so many deaths and separation of several families. Also, the economy suffered, and many businesses were forced to close for a lack of workers, and mail and garbage collection service were slowed. Um, but the end of summer of 1919, the pandemic came to an end, as most of those infected either died or developed immunity. In 2008, researchers announced that what made the 1980 flu so deadly was that a cluster of three genes allowed the virus to weaken the bronchi and lungs of the infected. After this pandemic, there were more of them, such as the pandemic of H1N1 in 2008 and 2010. And now the current one, that is the coronavirus pandemic. Yes, that is a little resume of the Spanish flu. I hope you had understand everything, and thank you.